Welcome back to my channel. Today's video will continue the series dolls. This one will be series 7, which is also known as the 7 Deadly Sins series. Once again, I will be referencing this wonderful book with the behind the scenes thoughts from the guys in pertaining to the production of series 7. There's a lot to get through, so let's get right into it. So the first thing with series 7, once again, they did a couple different things. First, the chipboards are different. Once again, it's no longer the hand-drawn chipboards, as you can see in the back with my dolls of series 4. So they no longer look like that for this series. And 2, the tissue paper in the coffin, they're all different colors. So each one has a different color that embodies that sin, which that was new to me in terms of specific colors. And also, this is the first series that will have, that each doll will have 2 names. So they'll be called by their sin, and they will have a also known as, so they will have a name. During the video, just to let you know, some of the names are easier to say instead of the vice, and then others it's just not, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. In fact, they're a little bit too wordy, and they're not really like real names, and you'll see as we go through the series. So an interesting thing about the creation of the series is that the guys were approached to do a 7 Deadly Sins mini set after the Mausoleum minifigures sets, which they did 2 of them. I talked about that in my mini video. Highly recommend watching that. And so the guys declined that idea because they felt to really embody the 7 Deadly Sins, or what each character, which each doll is supposed to show, you couldn't do that in miniature form. So they instead turned it into the 10-inch dolls. Here's a picture of the prototype of what they looked like. Really interesting how they changed. And as I discuss the dolls, I'm going to go from which doll didn't capture their sin to the one that did the best job of it. So that's how I'm going to do the discussion of the dolls. So the first one I'm going to discuss is Envy, who is also known as Eva Agogo. Now, according to the guys, she was a tough doll to visualize in terms of embodying the theme of envy. Envy is everyone knows, you would say green with envy, and that's pretty much all they had. So when they came up with her look, or at least concept of her in comparison to the others, she's like the least modern because she's in a cave woman costume. She also has no accessories, and she's the only one that's barefoot. She has no shoes, no accessories, so she will be envious of her doll mates in the series. I guess that's what they came up with. Now, the interesting thing about Envy is that she actually is a reference to a famous actress whose death date she shares. I'm sorry, her death date is the birthday of this actress. Her name is Betty Page. And she wore a similar outfit, this cave woman style. And unfortunately, Envy did not come with the famous Betty Page bangs. All Envy dolls have like these wonky bangs. So I mean, I never took the time to style her myself. but there's not much to her. She does have a little borrowed accessory, which is Makumba's necklace, which serves as her belt. And she's okay. She was on my worst Living Dead dolls list because I felt she just didn't capture the envy sin well. I mean, it was very easy, again, painting her green, and the cave woman concept just doesn't really work. So I felt it was kind of a misfire. And of course her coffin paper will be green. And price wise, I personally paid $30 for her, sealed in a coffin. She goes for around $37 to $50. Another thing the guys mentioned is that they wanted her to have a 60s go-go feel, so that's where her name comes from, and that's what her look comes from. And her name is actually a reference to a very bad monster movie, and it was called Monster A Go-Go. I don't know any information about it. I didn't think it was worth researching that movie, but that's Eva A Go-Go, aka Envy. The next one, I actually like this doll, but I also didn't think she captured the sin, and that is of Wrath. Now, Wrath is really cute. She, according to the guys, she was inspired by a spoiled brat concept, which they thought fit the theme well. And Wrath is also anger, temper. So I can see where that comes from, but when you look at her, you don't say, it's Wrath. Like, again, she seems like a very cute, angry doll. But other than that, again, I just didn't think it worked as well. She's an inspired choice. Actually, she would have fit at home with the Hollywood series, Series 5, because she is actually based on a very famous movie called Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which starred the iconic actress Bette Davis, who had a similar look. The movie is about an aging child star. And so Bette Davis is in that costume with the pigtails, I think, throughout the movie. And she torments her older sister or younger sister who was a more successful actress. And so I thought it would make sense if she was Envy based on that movie character. And in real life, the two actresses were in a feud. So I thought she would fit Envy better than she did than Wrath. And as accessories go, she comes with this adorable little lollipop that nicely fits into her hand. It has a peg. And, she's really cute. Real ribbons. I love her hair. Like, I love this golden hair. Like, it's not even blonde. It's like golden. Really cute. Her death date is the birthday of Bette Davis. And her coffin paper is red. And, I just felt like it's a cute doll. And I think Envy would have been better for the character. And it won't be something obvious, not being in green. But, that's it. And that's all she comes with, the little lollipop. I paid for her $37, and I actually got her in conjunction with Vanity behind her. And she goes for a little bit more, $60 to $65. And she's a great doll. She's really cute. I think she's adorable. I think she's cute. Again, she's a bratty kid. But, and again, that's it. That's all I have to say about Bad Betty. Oh, and one thing, Bad Betty is a combo of Whatever Happened to Betty Jane, Baby Jane, and Bet, as in Betty Davis's name. So, and that is Bad Bet Jane. The next one is one of the popular ones of the series, Bedtime Sadie, aka Sloth. Now this one will be easier. Come on, Lust, stand up. Now this one will be easier to continuously call her by because it's Sadie. Now, Bedtime Sadie was a plush and a mini before she became a 10-inch doll. The fans really wanted this version of Sadie in a 10-inch form after seeing her in the mini and the plush. I think the plush was before her. I can't remember, but I'll put it in the edits if it was before or after her. And she, again, not much about her in terms of like the look. I showed her before with the plush and with the minis, the same exact costume. She comes with a book, Dante's Bedtime Stories. Is really cute. And she has a little Z on her head instead of an X. Really cute. And like I said, she is one of the popular ones. She has a little butt flap right here, but it doesn't expose her butt. Cute little buttons. And like I said, she is my favorite. Well, one of my favorites of the series. But in terms of the theme, again, it was a little, I don't want to say lazy, but again, not kind of along the lines of Envy. Very obvious, shows someone sleeping. Honestly, I don't know what they could have done. I mean, maybe they could have did like a Rip Van Winkle, a creepy Rip Van Winkle doll, because that is a sleepy character. And, and again, I mean, I do appreciate having a 10-inch version of the Bedtime Sadie incarnation. And like I said, she's very cute. Now, her death date is different than OG Sadie. So she does not have the same death date. Her death date is actually, the death date is of Howard Hughes, who was an eccentric billionaire, but he also worked in the movie industry as well. Again, I just think she was a little bit uninspired. Again, cute doll, and she will run you more than the others. I paid $25 for her. She was open but complete, and her tissue paper is blue. I guess means sleepy. And that's it. That's all I have to say about her. Oh, I'm sorry. I look to pay $50 to $70 for her. Okay? And that is Bedtime Sadie. Okay. And the next one is Lust. Now, Lust, according to the guys, was the toughest. Second most toughest one, because which was something that Living Dead dolls, when they first came out, was a little bit of a conundrum in terms of, are they kids because of the cutesy doll form? Are they adults? So Lust kind of put a kind of strain in that, or it straddled that, and it forced the guys to kind of reconcile with that, because for a lot of the characters, they do appear childlike, they're child, but for but to embody the theme of Lust, that's not cool to show as a kid. So the guys, instead, they made her non-human, which that was the way they could comfortably deal with that sin. So she's a devil. She's not a human, so which makes it okay because she's not human. And of course, she's a demon, so demons are bad and they'll do, you know, bad things. So again, I think for the Vice, I think this was the best course of action, and I kind of like this doll. She has a beautiful face, like just gorgeous, and she actually served as the model of this book here, The Unauthorized Guide to Living Dead Dolls. And this book also, well, from here on in with my videos, this will no longer be relevant to the series of dolls moving forward because it only goes up to series 7. It's a great book to get. I highly recommend getting that book. But in terms of the rest of the series, that's where it ends, is series 7. She comes with an accessory. She comes with this little whip. And again, she has an infamous pleather material that will eventually peel. But mine is pretty good. Again, I don't touch her too much by the dress. You know, I hold her by the leg. And what's interesting is they actually painted these bands to go with her dress. But the dress here, that's actual material. She has very thin hair right here. And like I said, she's a cute doll. I mean, under the circumstances. Her death date is the same as the birth date of Linda Lovelace, who was an adult entertainer. That's all I have to say about that. You can look her up. And her coffin tissue is indigo, which is the color of lust, I guess. I'm not sure about that. And she actually will cost a lot more. She goes for now about $80 to $108. I paid $25 for her, and this was again several years ago. I actually got her with bedtime Sadie and Greed behind her, so I got her from the same seller. And I didn't have her chipboard for a long time, so I actually had to buy it from a fellow collector who, you know, didn't care for the chipboards, so I was able to replace the chipboard that she didn't come with, which worked out. And you know, not much to say. Of the 7 deadly sins, she's the only one that has been resurrected, and I'll talk about her later when I do the resurrection series. Spoiler alert, I do not have her resurrection doll. And that's it. That's all I have to say about Lust, who is also known as Mistress Dominica. So again, Mistress Dominica, very hard to remember, and so it's just easier to call her Lust. And that is Lust. Okay, next is Vanity. Now we're getting to the really good themed dolls. I mean, beginning with Lust. So Vanity is really interesting in terms of a couple of things. So she has this cool mirror here, which is called... I'm sorry, it's called the I'm Pretty mirror. Am I Pretty mirror. So if you see closely, you see like it's a woman, but she has 3 different parts of someone else's face to make one woman, which is really cool. This mirror gets used again in series 13 with the bad luck with Evangeline, but it doesn't have this graphic here. And another thing that's really cool with Vanity is that Dr. Deadwin is mentioned on her death certificate as performing the procedure on her, which I thought was a really cool in-universe thing with Living Dead dolls. She has this weird outfit, which I'm not a fan of, but if you look at it, you'll notice with the two ties, it's a reverse hospital gown. So, I've never taken it off to see the dress, but it's just a strapless purple satin-esque dress. And she has her face paint, cosmetic surgery with exaggerated scars. Okay, and she has like this gauze material, which actually is softer than, say, the material that's on Bride of Frankenstein. And she has this one little thing of hair coming down from the bandages. Underneath, I believe she's bald, except for this hair. Okay? And her name is Madame Dysmorphic. Again, not an easy name. Doesn't roll off the tongue. Body dysmorphia is a condition that people basically, it's a dissatisfaction of their own body. So for the guys, when they approached this particular sin, they actually changed it to vanity instead of pride, which they felt like was easier to execute than pride. That would have been difficult to show what that meant, an embodiment of pride. I think it was a good choice, because vanity does come from wanting to be better than others, or, so it works. I think it was a really good choice. And they said that it was difficult to put a face on pride, but to put a face or lack thereof on vanity. So, direct quote from the book. Her death date is Michael Jackson's birthday. And Michael Jackson was known to do a lot of surgical procedures. And the interesting thing when I was researching with vanity, there is a Wikipedia page for Living Dead Dolls. And for some reason, someone updated that information for vanity to make it known that this doll came out way before Michael Jackson passed away. Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, so several years after Series 7 was released. And her tissue paper, hold on, is violet, which means pride. I again, with these colors, I've never heard colors, except with green with envy, and of course maybe red. Well, actually, red I would think would be anger. Well, anger, sexiness, I don't know. But green is the only color that came to mind in terms of the sin. It made sense, green with envy. But the colors, again, I don't get the color placement. And like I said, it's just easier to call her Vanity. But her name is Madame Dysmorphic. And that's it. And that's all I have to say about vanity. Now, I kept going back and forth with the dolls in terms of my favorite one. But coming in number 2 is Gluttony. Now, Gluttony is a cool doll. First, as you can see, different body mold. And they never used this body mold again. Wait, before I go into Gluttony, just real quick with Vanity. I got her with Wrath, I got her with Wrath, so I paid $37, and Vanity will cost you about $50 to $60. Sorry about that. Anyway, back to the big guy. Now, Gluttony is also known as Vulgar, the Obscene. See, again, the names do not roll off the tongue, so I'm going to call him Vulgar from here on in, so no offense to anyone who's a fan of the doll. He was on my list of boy dolls. I ranked them. I believe I ranked him high. I can't remember the number I gave him, but he was pretty up up there, just because of his uniqueness. This guy is loaded with accessories. So first, and it's very important, he comes with this knife right here, which is covered in blood right there. He comes with a meat tenderizer, which I keep in his little apron pocket. He comes with this bone right here tied to his belt. And he comes with another knife for some reason, but you know, there's his knife. He's a butcher, so I guess that's why he has all these tools. Who very much likes his job. His death date is of Mama Cass from the singing group The Mamas and the Papas. It was an unfortunate rumor. She was an overweight singer, beautiful voice. This lady had an amazing voice. I highly recommend listening to her solo stuff. And so the rumor is that, again, because of her weight, that she died while eating a sandwich, which was ridiculous, and very insensitive at the time. And it was proven untrue. She died in her sleep. I believe she had a heart attack. And Gluttony's eyes, right here, are actually exaggerated, but it's what a person's eyes will look like when they're having a heart attack. So he has one like enlarged eye and one narrow one right here in terms of the pupil. And he's just such a fun doll. I mean, like, look at him. He's also a bit heavy too in comparison to all the other Living Dead dolls. And like just the detail that went into him, he's really cool. And one really weird detail is that he has pink underwear for some reason. Not sure why. His tissue paper is orange, which is the color of sin. Oh, and he has one of the funniest tattoos right here. Meat. He's just such a fun doll. He really is. And today you could get him for really cheap. He goes between $35 to $40. I paid $34 for him sealed. And it's a shame because he's really cool. And you know, with the guys, they mentioned that Gluttony, or this incarnation of this character, was supposed to be for Series 6, which is interesting. So I'm wondering in Series 6 if he would have came with like a pet pig, like an evil pig or something like that. But that was interesting that he was for that series. I guess we'll never know. And again, I highly recommend him. He's a really cool doll, just in terms of the fact that he was different. You know, they had to create a new mold for him. And just to let you know, because I'm feeling it now with Gluttony, he has this weird stickiness to it. The older dolls will have that. So in case you ever came across that feel on the doll, that's just part of the plastic, and that has nothing to do, you know, a seller didn't sell you a sticky doll, especially if you bought it loose. That's just going to happen with the plastic, just letting you know. And that's it. And that is Gluttony. And the best doll in terms of capturing the deadly sins is Greed, aka Miss McGreedy. So technically me calling her Greed is pretty much the same as calling her McGreedy. According to the guy, she was the toughest design of all of them. Because she went through a bunch of looks, and there was things that they came up with that didn't fit what a Living Dead doll character is. And from the ideas they came up with. Of Series 7, she was the final doll to be made. And for them, according to them, she came out the best. And I agree. Again, Gluttony is a close second, but I really loved how she came to be. And she's like a mix of different ideas of a very greedy person. In this case, obsessed with wealth. If you notice with the chains, and she even has a chained chest attached to her. It's very reminiscent of Jacob Marley, the spirit from A Christmas Carol. And he was, if you're familiar with the story, I'm sure everyone is by now, but Jacob Marley was weighed down by the chains of his sin, of being greedy, of being cruel. And so this is perfect for this character. So she has like these little treasure chests that has these faux what's supposed to be pearls coming from the chest, and it hangs from her foot. And when I was taking her down from my shelf, it came off, and I didn't realize it was just easy to slip back on her foot. I was like, oh no, it broke, but it actually is supposed to be able to come on and off. So if it does slip off, you can slip it right back on, even over the shoe. You don't even have to take off the shoe. And she has, again, like these mini boxes, again. This one had like the full pearls, this one didn't. You have these piggy banks, which is really cute. She has these little studs that are supposed to be her rings, which is really, really cute. Really cute. Okay. And then she has these little faux fur, because they're supposed to be long gloves, but the gloves are painted on. It's part of the mold of the doll, so it's not fabric. Only the top of the sleeves are. Her dress, which also has the trim, it's very transparent. I'm not sure why it's such a thin material, but it's like see-through, this dress. And mine is showing a little wear right here. So be careful. You do have this doll, like, not to pull too much on the dress. Oh, and she comes with these earrings. Very few living dead dolls have earrings. So just keep that in mind. And I love her hair. Her hair is really cute. And look at that side eye. Fun fact about me, I love a doll with a good side eye. And Living Dead Dolls has some dolls that have really good side eye. But I think that's the best one. Really cute. I love it. The black and white reminds me of Cruella de Vil as well. You know, so she has a lot of ideas going on in this doll. Her death date, interesting enough, it's the same date as Donald Trump. And what else? And her coffin tissue is yellow/gold color of greed. And like I said, she's my favorite. Well, I feel like she's the best of Series 7. She's one of my favorites. Gluttony is that's my guy. But she just embodies the sin of greed so well. I just thought it was a well executed doll for that theme. And that is greed. And so that's it with Series 7. Oh. So that's it with Series 7. Oh, I just wish these all stay up. Okay. Before I go, and hopefully these dolls remain standing, I forgot to mention that Greed, I paid $25, and she's about $40 to $50. So now that's it for all I have to say for Series 7. It was a great experiment. Personally, it's not one of my favorite series, and with this series, not one doll sticks out on their own. Like, they're kind of forgettable. That's in my opinion. You know, Bedtime Sadie was a fan favorite. She was a request according to the guys, so that was a no-brainer. But like the other characters, again, they pretty much exist, or they don't, because of their series, they don't exist dependent of their series, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the only big downside of Series 7. There's nothing really remarkable independently, the dolls themselves, but I think it was a great experiment, and I appreciate the guys in the effort to doing something different. And, you know, do your research. And again, these dolls are not expensive, as you heard me quoting some prices. Like I said, the only two that would cost you more are these two, but everyone else is pretty affordable. So again, please do not pay through the nose for these dolls. You know, again, like Lust might run you $100, but I'm sure you can get her for less than that, especially if she's out of the coffin. Same thing with Sadie. And you know, make sure, once again, do the research, make sure they have the accessories, especially with Gluttony. He has the most accessories, so make sure you know that he comes with 2 knives, the tenderizer, and the bone attached to him. Oh, I give up. And that's it. Stay tuned as I continue doing the series dolls. I can't wait for Series 8. I just can't wait to talk about Series 8. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And you could be informed, notified when I post another video. And as always, happy hunting.